Chapter 1, Jules, I've agreed to come home for the arranged marriage. Felicity Jameson's quiet voice was exceptionally clear in the dead of night. On the other end of the line, Julian Jameson's heart finally settled upon hearing her words. Finally willing to break up with that little boyfriend of yours. You've been together for so many years, and he never even agreed to come back with you to meet Mom, Dad, and me. I knew from the start it wouldn't work out between you two. Hearing her brother's assertive tone, Felicity lowered her eyes and hummed in agreement. I was wrong before. I'll wrap things up here as soon as possible. I'll leave the wedding arrangements to you. Just give me about half a month. Don't you worry about the wedding, we'll handle the preparations. You just need to come back on time. The person we've chosen for this marriage is someone Mom, Dad, and I have carefully selected. His family background, personality, and looks are all excellent. He'll definitely meet your standards. Oh, right. When you come back for the wedding, remember to invite someone for me, my best friend from back in the day, Dylan Dalton. When you went off to Northwood City for university, didn't you stay at his place for a while? You owed him a lot for taking care of you back then. Make sure to invite him to the wedding this time. Felicity didn't know how to respond to that. After a long silence, she replied in a low voice, "He can't make it." Before her words had even faded, the door was pushed open. Felicity quickly hung up the phone and looked up at Dylan Dalton, who had just returned. He raised an eyebrow, a bold smile spreading across his roguish, untamed face. "I can't make it. Can't make it where?" "My wedding," Felicity told him silently in her heart, but her expression remained calm and her tone was light. "Nowhere important." Dylan didn't think much of it, unbuttoning his black shirt with a casual air. "Were you just on the phone with your brother?" Felicity hummed in acknowledgement and got up to go to the bedroom, but he grabbed her hand and pulled her into his embrace. His hot breath fanned across her ear, an ambiguous tension swirling between them. "So, did you tell him about us?" Felicity managed a smile, though it didn't reach her eyes. "Didn't you want to keep it from him? It's not that I don't want to, it's that I can't. Knowing your brother, if he found out his best friend was with his precious little sister, he'd probably fly to Northwood City overnight and beat me so badly I wouldn't be able to get out of bed." Hearing his joking tone, Felicity's eyelashes fluttered slightly, her voice still calm. "So, in your heart, am I your girlfriend?" Hearing her suddenly ask such a question, Dylan raised an eyebrow. "Not my girlfriend? Then have I been living with you for 6 years for nothing? Not my girlfriend. Then why do I hold you the moment I get back? Not my girlfriend? Then why would I do this to you?" As he spoke, his warm lips brushed against her neck. Felicity's body tensed instantly, and she quickly turned her head to avoid his kiss. I'm not feeling well today." Dylan assumed she was being shy and couldn't help but chuckle. "My little girlfriend, we've been together for so long, why are you still so shy?" With that, he ruffled her hair and turned towards the bathroom. Listening to his retreating footsteps, Felicity finally murmured to herself, repeating his words. "Girlfriend? Shouldn't it be a stand-in?" Felicity first met Dylan Dalton 8 years ago. He and Julian Jameson were college roommates. Because they were close, Julian would often bring him home to play video games. It was the dawn of young love. Almost at first sight, she had fallen for this cool, languid older boy whose handsomeness made her heart skip a beat. Later, when she graduated from high school, Dylan also graduated and returned to his hometown of Northwood City. Missing him, she disregarded her family's objections and secretly applied to a university in his city. Because she was beautiful, she had attracted a lot of unwanted attention from troublemakers in high school. Julian, worried about her being alone in a different city, entrusted her to his good friend Dylan, even arranging for her to live in his apartment. Initially, they didn't interact much. She was busy with school, and Dylan was busy with racing and dating, his girlfriends changing almost every 3 days. It wasn't until her sophomore year of college that Dylan came home dead drunk, and she frantically took care of him. Late at night, she looked at the man who seemed to be asleep on the sofa. As if driven by an unseen force, she raised her hand, wanting to smooth his furrowed brow. The moment her skin touched his tightly closed eyes suddenly opened. Dylan casually lifted his eyelids, his voice lazy and magnetic. "You like me?" Her secret crush exposed, Felicity shot up. No, the man smiled languidly. "You don't? Then why do you blush every time you see your big bro?" Felicity hadn't realized he knew about every stolen glance. Just as she was flustered about what to do, the man chuckled, cupped the back of her head, and pressed a light kiss on her lips. She was lost in that gentle, lingering kiss, unable to pull herself away. After a night of passion, Felicity's once calm life underwent a seismic change. Dylan, a man who had seemed like a reformed playboy, appeared to settle down and focused on their relationship. She, too, repeatedly refused her parents' and brothers' requests for her to return home for an arranged marriage, stubbornly staying in Northwood City, by his side. Her brother would always ask her, "Who is it in Northwood City that's kept you wild there for 6 years without coming back?" Every time, she wanted to reveal her relationship with Dylan, to tell everyone that she was with her brother's best friend. But Dylan always stopped her. She never knew why until a few days ago. Dylan had too much to drink at a party, and when she went to pick him up, one of his friends, also drunk, pointed at her and said regretfully, "How did such a beautiful girl end up being ruined by this rascal Dalt? I'm telling you, little sister, whatever you do, don't fall for Dalt. That guy, he's heartless. You and his ex, and the ex before that, you're all just Livia's stand-ins." That was the first time Felicity had heard the name Livia Lockwood. After that, she could never forget it. After much inquiry, she learned the truth. Dylan and Livia were each other's first love. In the year he loved her most deeply, Livia broke up with him and resolutely went abroad. He couldn't move on from the past and indulged himself, becoming a womanizer, constantly dating. And every girlfriend, more or less, bore Livia's shadow, including her. After graduation, he refused to inherit the family business and insisted on becoming a race car driver, all because of something Livia had said when they were young. "Guys who race cars are so cool. My future husband must be a racer." 6 years of youth and sincere affection turned out to be just an illusion. At that moment, Felicity made the decision to go home for the arranged marriage. She didn't want Dylan Dalton anymore, and she wouldn't love him anymore. Chapter 2, at 7 the next morning, Felicity's internal clock woke her punctually. As soon as she opened her eyes, she saw Dylan Dalton straightening his shirt in front of the mirror. His schedule was usually reversed. This was the first time in her memory that he was up so early. Hearing her stir, he turned around and saw her. "Does your big bro look handsome in this outfit today?" he asked. He was a natural clothes horse. Even a simple black shirt looked good on him. Today, having made a special effort, he was undeniably handsome. A lazy glance from him could charm a legion of young women. She didn't know why he had suddenly started paying so much attention to his appearance. In the past, she would have been flustered by his charm, but now she just nodded calmly. "Yes, very handsome." Dylan didn't notice anything unusual about her and curled his lip. "I have a gathering today. You be good at home, and I'll bring you back some dessert when I return." With that, he turned and left. After watching his back disappear, Felicity went to pour herself a glass of water when she saw his phone lying on the table. As she picked it up, she accidentally pressed the power button. The screen lit up, revealing a new message from someone labeled Livy. "Dill, it's been 8 years. I'm really looking forward to the party today. How about you?" Seeing the message, Felicity froze. So his first love was returning to the country today. No wonder he was up so early, dressed so meticulously, with a hint of joy in his eyes. The next second, the main door was pushed open. Dylan, having turned back halfway, suddenly returned, grabbed his phone, and glanced at the screen before leaving. His steps faltered slightly, and he couldn't help but look at Felicity, who was having her meal. "Did you look at my phone just now?" Felicity looked up slightly, her gaze calm. "No, why?" Only then did he smile as if relieved, said it's nothing, and turned to leave. This was the first time Felicity suddenly felt she couldn't understand him. His heart was full of his first love, and all his girlfriends were Livia Lockwood's stand-ins. Logically, he shouldn't care about her at all. So why would he care if she found out the truth? Could it be he was afraid of losing her? Felicity didn't want to flatter herself. Besides, she understood that losing him was already a foregone conclusion. After breakfast, Felicity sat down at her computer and opened her drawing software. She was a comic artist. After returning home, she would be busy with wedding matters and probably wouldn't be able to work for a long time. Taking advantage of her free time now, she planned to finish the remaining manuscripts. After a busy morning, she packaged half a day's work and sent it to her editor, then had lunch. In the afternoon, While the weather was still good, she cleared out a lot of things. Matching couples' mugs, keychains, scarves, jackets. These were all things she had bought over the years, filling a large box. Seeing these items reminded her of Dylan's resigned expression whenever she presented him with something new and insisted he use or wear it. These are all things little girls like. Do you really want your big bro to take them out and be laughed at by my friends? Remembering his words, Felicity dragged the box downstairs and threw it, box and all, into the dumpster. Now, no one would laugh anymore. After dealing with it decisively, Felicity was about to go back when she turned and bumped into a cool embrace. Dylan, who had returned at some unknown time, had one arm around her shoulder and the other brushing away the bangs plastered to her forehead by sweat. What did you throw away? Why are you sweating so much? Just some useless junk. Felicity calmly made an excuse. Dylan didn't suspect anything and pulled her upstairs. The moment the elevator doors opened, the sanitation truck happened to arrive, rumbling loudly. Watching the box of items being carried away by the truck, Felicity finally looked away. Junk? How could there be so much junk? Actually, a single glance would have revealed something was amiss, but he didn't ask anything. It was simply because he didn't care. A hint of self-mockery flashed in Felicity's eyes. Her peripheral vision caught the smile that never left his face, and she was slightly stunned. Dylan had a pair of captivating, almond-shaped eyes. When he smiled, it was hard to look away. Perhaps knowing this, he almost always had a smile on his face. Others thought he was good-natured, but only Felicity knew his smile was merely superficial, never reaching his eyes. But today, all day long, when he smiled, his eyes carried genuine joy. He must have been really happy to see Livia Lockwood. As soon as they entered, Dylan noticed the apartment felt much emptier. He looked around, an expression of surprise on his face. Did we get robbed? Why does it feel like a lot of things are missing? Where are the mugs? The throw pillows are gone too? Just as Felicity was about to answer, Dylan's phone pinged several times. He glanced down at the messages, quickly forgot about the missing items, and headed to the study, instructing her before closing the door. "Fee, I have some things to do. You go to bed first, don't wait up for me." Felicity didn't ask anything and went back to the bedroom alone. The clock on the wall struck 12, and the phone under her pillow vibrated wildly. "Fifi, happy birthday. Happy 23rd birthday. Darling Fifi, remember to eat cake." Scrolling down, it was all birthday wishes. Her father, mother, brother, friends, classmates all those miles away had sent their blessings. Only her boyfriend, who was so close, seemed to have forgotten all about it. Chapter 3, because he had more important things to do. Felicity closed the half-watched movie on her laptop and clicked on the constantly popping up messaging app icon in the bottom right corner. It was Dylan chatting with Livia Lockwood. He didn't know his messaging app was logged in on the laptop, and she could see all their chats. She watched as the two of them talked about the past, the present, and then the future. In the long, dense string of conversation, Dylan never mentioned her once. Yes, after all, I'm just a stand-in for comfort. What's there to mention? She looked at the dense, still refreshing dialogue and pressed the power button. A dreamless night. The next day, Felicity was awakened by the doorbell. She rubbed her eyes and walked into the living room to see Dylan, who had woken up at some point, holding a bouquet of flowers and a birthday cake as he turned around. "Fee, did you order a cake? Why the sudden craving for cake?" The room was silent for a few seconds before Felicity slowly spoke. "It's my birthday. It must have been sent by a friend." Hearing this, Dylan froze on the spot. He subconsciously glanced at the wall calendar and only then realized it was July 12th. He had actually forgotten her birthday. A flicker of guilt crossed Dylan's eyes. He quickly put down the items in his hands and ushered Felicity back to the bedroom. "It's your birthday today. Let's go out on a date. What do you want to eat?" "No need, let's just celebrate at home." Felicity declined the suggestion, but Dylan insisted on going out to celebrate and even took a dress out of the closet and handed it to her. She couldn't win against him, so she had no choice but to freshen up and go out with him. The two went to their old favorite restaurant for dim sum, then watched the latest movie and browsed a few shopping malls. During their outing, Felicity went to the restroom. When she returned, she saw him on the phone, asking his family to help order a very expensive necklace. This necklace happened to be one she had taken a fancy to in a magazine half a month ago. Watching his eager look, Felicity felt a mix of emotions. She didn't quite understand what was going through his mind. He had remembered the necklace she had glanced at a few times, yet he had completely forgotten her most important birthday. Could he really not distinguish which was more important? Thinking about it carefully, he probably could. Before Livia Lockwood returned, he had treated her, his stand-in, as a source of comfort, so he cared about her in every way. But after Livia returned, he had shifted all his attention to Livia. So, he had forgotten everything related to her. Throughout the morning, Felicity couldn't quite lift her spirits, lacking interest in everything. Dylan noticed her distraction and ruffled her hair. "Why does the little birthday star seem unhappy? Are you not satisfied with my arrangements for today?" Thinking about it now, he always liked to ruffle my hair. Subconsciously, he always thought of me as a sister, not a lover. Felicity shook her head. Just as she was about to say she was tired and wanted to go home, Dylan hailed a cab and gave the address of a mountain villa. Meeting her surprised gaze, he raised an eyebrow. "Didn't you always say you wanted to meet my friends? Everyone's free today, so I'll take you to meet them. Will that make you happier?" This unexpected plan made Felicity stare blankly for a moment. Previously, Dylan had been unwilling to meet her family and friends, so she had thought of meeting his. But every time, he would come up with various excuses to refuse. Over time, she had stopped mentioning it. Now that she was about to leave Northwood City, he, driven by a little guilt, wanted to take her. Truly, the ways of the world are full of twists and turns. She quietly watched the scenery flash by outside the window and ultimately said nothing. The taxi stopped halfway up the mountain. Dylan took her hand and walked into the villa, pushing open the heavy doors. With a few popping sounds, a sky full of confetti and ribbons rained down. A group of people noisily crowded out of the door, laughingly saying, "Happy birthday!" Seeing this scene, Dylan quickly pulled Felicity into his arms, picking confetti from her hair while shooing away a few friends who had crowded around. "Careful, don't scare my little one. She's a bit of a..." His words trailed off abruptly. He saw a familiar face in the crowd, and his expression changed suddenly. Livia Lockwood, however, looked perfectly at ease and came forward with a smile. "Dill, I've been abroad for so many years. It's been a while since I joined a group activity. I heard this morning you were celebrating your girlfriend's birthday, so I thought I'd come join the fun. You don't mind, do you?" Dylan's cold gaze swept around. Everyone lost the courage to meet his eyes, looking away, pretending it had nothing to do with them. Sensing the atmosphere was about to turn cold, Felicity politely extended her hand and initiated a greeting. "Welcome, it's nice to meet you. I'm Felicity Jameson." Livia Lockwood stared at her for a long moment, then, as if understanding something, she took her hand with a half-smile. "Hello, my name is Livia Lockwood. I'm Dill's friend. Fee, has anyone ever told you that we look a bit alike?" Chapter 4, the moment Livia said this, Dylan's hand, which was around Felicity's arm, tightened abruptly. Felicity, however, remained calm. "Is that so? Then we must be quite fated." Seeing the mood dampen, the people around them immediately started to liven things up. A group of acquaintances gathered, drinking and playing games, making a lot of noise. Felicity didn't know anyone and wasn't fond of such boisterous gatherings, so she sat on the sofa. Although Dylan was physically beside her, his eyes kept drifting to the table on his left. She followed his gaze and immediately saw Livia Lockwood, who was the life of the party. At first, he restrained himself, but when Livia picked up the wine glass in front of her, he couldn't sit still any longer. He shot up, went over, and snatched the glass from her, his tone laced with displeasure. "You're allergic to alcohol, and you're still drinking. Are you crazy?" His voice was so agitated that the entire hall fell silent, and everyone turned their attention to them. Livia toyed with the dice in her hand, a playful smile tugging at her lips. "It's been so many years and you still remember that." Before Dylan could speak, a few of his heavily intoxicated friends stumbled over, shouting loudly, "How could Dill forget? Back when you two were dating, this lovelorn fool only had eyes for you." Hearing this, Dylan instinctively glanced back at Felicity. His face instantly darkened, and he snapped, "If you're drunk, go sober up. What nonsense are you spouting here?" The group was so scared by his outburst that their faces paled. Only then did they realize Felicity was present and quickly tried to smooth things over. "Drink less, the game isn't over yet. Come on, come on." Next round, the frozen atmosphere in the room finally returned to normal. Suppressing the surging emotions in his chest, Dylan returned to the sofa and handed the fruit juice on the table to the person beside him. Felicity said nothing, asked nothing. She took the glass and sipped it a few times. Her calm demeanor, however, made Dylan increasingly uneasy. He was about to offer an explanation when jeers came from behind him again. Livia lost. I'll draw. Let me see, you drew truth or dare. The question is, if it were possible, would you get back together with your ex-boyfriend? In the ensuing silence, Livia Lockwood's gaze fell on Dylan. She curved her lips. Never, gonna happen. As these 4 words came out, the atmosphere in the private room dropped to freezing point. No one dared to make another sound. Livia, however, seemed oblivious and clamored to start a new game. The group, while humoring her, kept stealing glances at Dylan, whose face was so dark he looked ready to flip the entire place upside down. They didn't even dare to breathe too loudly. And in the latest round, Livia lost again. Just as she was about to accept her forfeit, Dylan couldn't hold back any longer. He grabbed her hand and rushed out the door. The people present seemed to have anticipated this scene. No one inquired, and they all went back to their own activities. But Felicity could see, through the floor-to-ceiling windows, the 2 figures arguing not far away, and hear the muffled sounds of a fierce dispute from outside. Watching this scene, complex emotions flickered in Felicity's eyes. In her impression, Dylan never seemed to care about anything, always wearing a casual, lazy smile. In the 8 years she had known him, this was the first time she had seen him so out of control, and it was because of Livia's never gonna happen. So, when you're not loved, everyone is just as pitiful. The argument escalated, and Dylan, seemingly furious, left without looking back. Seeing Livia come in alone, everyone realized the party was over and began making excuses to leave. And Felicity, the guest of honor who had been left behind, also rose amidst the chaos. Before leaving, she went to the restroom. Through the door, she heard footsteps approaching from outside. A moment later, the voice of one of the girls who had been the loudest at the table earlier suddenly sounded. Livia, you obviously still like Dylan. You came back this time for him, so why did you say those things just now? You made him storm off. How are you going to get back together now? After the sound of running water, Livia Lockwood replied with a smile. If we don't argue, how will he remember what happened 8 years ago? I want him to remember the heart-wrenching pain and unrequited love he felt when we broke up. That way, he'll never forget me. No, it's been 8 years. How much more unforgettable can he be? Look at all the girlfriends he's had. They all look like you. The one he brought today, even though they've been together for a while, it looks like he's just playing around. Look, it was her birthday today, and Dylan's eyes and thoughts were all on you. She, the birthday girl, was like a ghost. It really made me laugh. Listening to her friend's teasing, Livia also chuckled a few times before speaking softly. You don't understand. The Daltons are a prominent family in Northwood City. Dill is outstanding in both temperament and looks. The Daltons look down on my ordinary family background. They'll definitely marry him off to a wife who matches him in every way. This is the only way I can make his heart completely mine. Even though we argued today, once he cools down in a few days, I'll give him an easy way out, and he'll definitely forgive and forget. Her voice had just fallen when, the next second, the restroom door was yanked open. Felicity stood not far away, locking eyes with them. Chapter 5, hearing the commotion, the few people by the sink turned around. Seeing it was her, Livia Lockwood was stunned for a long moment before managing to maintain the smile on her face. Fifi, what are you doing here? You didn't hear what we were just saying, did you? Felicity glanced at her, slowly walked to the sink and said lightly, I heard everything. Livia hadn't expected her to admit it so openly. Her face instantly turned incredibly ugly. Her friends also realized something was wrong and were about to teach Felicity a lesson. Felicity turned on the faucet, not giving them a chance to speak. Those who scheme against a sincere heart will never win a sincere heart. Her words left Livia speechless. Livia's resentful eyes swept over the mole near Felicity's eye, and then she suddenly seemed to let go, no longer feigning. She sneered, just a substitute. You haven't even won Dill's love. What right do you have to talk to me about sincerity? Exactly, I wonder who got dumped in this godforsaken place. Being this kind of girlfriend, how pathetic. After the 3 of them finished their taunts, they linked arms and left. Felicity didn't pursue them. Dylan had toyed with her sincerity, and Livia, in turn, toyed with his. Perhaps it was truly karma. She walked to the entrance, about to hail a cab, but then remembered this was a mountain villa. Sure enough, several ride-hailing apps showed no vehicles nearby. And, perhaps Livia had deliberately arranged it with Dylan's friends. A dozen cars drove past her one after another, yet no one offered her a ride. Watching Livia get into the last car, and not forgetting to cast a triumphant glance back at her through the open window, Felicity understood her retaliatory intent. She smiled and turned to walk down the mountain on foot. The evening breeze made her skirt flutter. The surroundings were extremely quiet, only the incessant chirping of cicadas accompanied her. She emptied her mind, many memories flashing through her thoughts, scene after scene like a movie, giving her a sense of unreality. Love, substitute, returning home, birthday, sincerity. She suddenly felt a little curious. If Dylan knew that his 8 years of torturing himself for his first love were merely Livia's tactic of playing hard to get, how would he feel? It was already 8 o'clock in the evening when she got home. Felicity took off her shoes, looked at the several blisters rubbed raw on her feet, and hissed in pain as she took out the first aid kit. After tending to her wounds, she was exhausted. She washed up and went asleep. When she woke up the next day, everything in the room was no different from yesterday. Felicity wasn't curious about where Dylan had gone. She got up and changed the dressing on her wound. Just as she finished bandaging it, Julian Jameson called. "Fee, did you go to bed very early yesterday? Why didn't you reply to my messages? Let me tell you, your fiancé prepared a ton of birthday surprises for you. Not only did he ask me to transfer a large sum of money to you, but he also bought a pile of jewelry and had it sent to the house, so you can use it as soon as you get back. What do you think? The marriage prospect your brother found for you isn't bad, right?" Felicity put him on speaker and opened her notification bar. Sure enough, she saw a transfer of $50 million. She was about to reply when Dylan, who hadn't returned all night, suddenly came back. "Prospect? What prospect?" Hearing this familiar voice, Julian on the other end of the line instantly became agitated. "Fee, who was that just speaking? Dylan Dalton? What's he doing at your place at this hour?" Felicity's heart skipped a beat. She quickly made an excuse and hung up the phone. Seeing her nervous look, Dylan's smile returned to his face, and he deliberately pretended to be angry. "Why did you hang up? Won't let me chat with my good buddy. Is your boyfriend that unpresentable?" Felicity didn't want to play along with his jokes and calmly retorted, "Haven't you always been unwilling to let him know about our relationship?" Chapter 6, Dylan's smile froze on his lips. Looking at her cold expression, he finally realized the little girl might be angry. He walked over to her, took her hand, and, as if by magic, placed the necklace in her palm. "Sorry, I was busy getting your birthday present yesterday, so I forgot you at the villa. Forgive me this once, okay?" Using such a flawed lie to appease me, does he think I'll definitely forgive him? Felicity stared at him fixedly, saying nothing, nor did she take the necklace. After a long wait for her response, Dylan sighed and dangled the necklace in front of her. "Why have you been so absent-minded lately? Is something bothering you?" Only then did Felicity avert her gaze, turning to look out the window, and spoke faintly. "Yes, something is bothering me. A friend of mine recently discovered that the boyfriend she's been with for a long time has been deceiving her. She found out the truth, complained to me, and asked me whether she should forgive him or not. So, it was about such a small thing." He chuckled for a moment, then gave a very rational answer. "What's there to be bothered about? If it's deception, it's not worth forgiving. Break up. If it's deception, it's not worth forgiving." Felicity mimicked his tone, repeating the sentence. Dylan smiled and nodded, ruffling her hair again. "That's right. My little girl shouldn't be deceived in the future." Watching his action, she finally showed a faint smile. "This sentence, it's for both of us to remember." Dylan frowned, about to ask what she meant when the phone in his pocket suddenly rang. He answered it without looking. "Hello? It's me, Dill. Let's talk." They were close, and Felicity recognized Livia Lockwood's voice. She looked up and saw the expression on Dylan's face freeze for a few seconds, then quickly return to normal. He hummed a low assent, hurriedly hung up, made an excuse, and left. Looking at the necklace left on the table, Felicity got up and went into her room. After working on her manuscript for 2 hours, she thought of taking a break and idly opened her social media feed. Scrolling down, she saw Livia Lockwood, whom she had just added as a contact yesterday, had posted an update half an hour ago. 8 years have passed, and you're still that boy who softens up as soon as I coax you. It's truly wonderful. The accompanying picture was a platter of crawfish and a hand peeling them. Looking at those slender fingers and the familiar watch on the wrist, Felicity smiled faintly and closed her phone. For the next few days, Dylan didn't come back, only occasionally sending a message saying he was busy. But through Livia Lockwood's social media updates, Felicity kept clear track of his itinerary. Watching the sunrise by the sea, seeing fireworks at an amusement park, camping in the outskirts. Felicity knew Livia was posting these for her to see. But she didn't question or get angry as Livia might have imagined. Instead, she focused wholeheartedly on packing her luggage. Over the years in Northwood City, she had bought many things, and clearing them out batch by batch would take several days. She donated all her valuables. After the charity organization came and took everything away, she was just thinking of resting when Dylan's call came through. She answered, but it wasn't him speaking, but his friend, Sean Shaw. Felicity, Dill got into a conflict with someone. They're going to have a life or death race. Please come to the club and try to talk him out of it. Hearing this, Felicity's right eyelid twitched violently. After hesitating for a long while, she finally grabbed her keys, hailed a cab, and rushed to the club. As soon as the car arrived, Sean, who was waiting at the entrance, ran over to lead the way, explaining the whole story en route. A few days ago, Livy saw a pair of earrings she liked at an auction. Dill went to the restroom, and someone else snatched them up. Dill saw how much she liked them and insisted on buying them from that person. That guy is also a racer, from a wealthy family, and said he wanted to make a big bet. So, they decided to race for it winner takes the earrings. If it were an ordinary track, I wouldn't have bothered you. But they chose the road of death. That route is incredibly dangerous. Even Schumacher would have a hard time getting out unscathed. Fee, you're Dill's girlfriend, please try to think of a way to persuade him. Chapter 7. By the time the two of them arrived at the scene, it was already too late. Several of Dylan's friends stared at the live feed on the big screen, their hearts in their throats. Too late, they're already on the road if anything happens. How are we going to explain this to Mr. Dalton Sr.? Spit it out, don't say such unlucky things. I knew it as soon as Livia Lockwood is involved. This kid goes crazy, like 10 horses couldn't hold him back before. It was just fights, at most a demerit. Now he's even gambling his life. He's truly possessed. Hearing these complaints, Sean Shaw, still catching his breath, quickly elbowed his friends. The guys turned around, saw Felicity, and finally shut up. 20 minutes later, 2 roaring sounds approached from the distance, growing clearer. Felicity looked at the 2 cars exchanging the lead on the screen, then at the final 3 kilometers of the course, her brow tightly furrowed. A few minutes later, the 2 race cars appeared in everyone's sight. This also meant the race was about to end. Dylan's car was in the lead, but the gap wasn't large. During the final kilometer sprint, the friends watched the constantly changing numbers on the screen and cursed it out loud in anger. Dylan Dalton, are you FC King trying to get yourself killed? Felicity followed their gaze and saw the black race car speeding past like a bolt of lightning, so fast it was just a blur. 100 meters, 50 meters, the final 10 meters. Dylan didn't slow down, crossing the finish line first. The price he paid to win was smashing the shock absorption barriers beyond the finish line to pieces, then flipping over, car and all. The race was over. The friends waiting at the finish line scattered and ran over, pulling Dylan, who was covered in blood, from the wreckage. He was coughing up mouthfuls of blood, the light in his eyes slowly fading. Bro, get the necklace, give it to Livy, don't mention today's events. Before losing consciousness, Dylan left only this last and only sentence. It was for Livia Lockwood. It had nothing to do with Felicity Jameson, who was waiting nearby. Dylan had come very close to shattering the bones in his left hand. His career was nearly cut short. After the surgery, he remained unconscious, yet he kept murmuring Livia Lockwood's name. Watching him still terrified and afraid of loss even in his dreams, Felicity silently looked away. A night passed, and the effects of the anesthetic wore off. Dylan opened his eyes and saw the haggard face of the person keeping vigil by his bedside. His heart softened. You've been watching over me all night, didn't you rest? Felicity pressed her temples and hummed a soft affirmative. He saw the exhaustion in her eyes and tenderly rubbed her head. "You've worked hard." Felicity's tone was calm. "It's no hardship. You're my brother's best friend. It's only right that I take care of you." Her words sounded very wrong. Shouldn't it be that she was his girlfriend and that's why she was taking care of him? How did it become that she was taking care of him because he was her brother's best friend? Dylan subconsciously realized the little girl was angry because he had participated in a life or death race for someone else. He was about to explain, but the words died on his lips, feeling inappropriate no matter how he phrased them. Fortunately, Felicity didn't ask him. He then changed the subject. "Who came to visit me during this time?" "Your dozen or so friends and the club manager." The smile on Dylan's face slowly faded, replaced by an icy coldness. But he wasn't ready to give up. The corners of his lips turned up slightly, but there was no smile in his eyes. Just them, no one else. After seeing her nod, his expression turned abruptly cold, and he didn't speak another word for the entire morning. Felicity knew who he was waiting for, but she didn't say anything. Dylan stayed in the hospital for a few days, and Felicity stayed by his side without leaving for those few days. On the day of his discharge, he looked at her gaunt face, a trace of heartache in his eyes. "Fee, thank you for these past few days." Felicity picked up her luggage, her expression calm. "No need to thank me. Since I came to Northwood City for university, you've been taking care of me at my brother's request. Consider this my way of repaying your kindness. Although a few days can't compare to a few years, I probably haven't caused you much trouble during my years in Northwood City, so let's call it even." This was the second time she had distanced their relationship. Hearing this, Dylan felt something was off and couldn't help but glance at her. "We're boyfriend and girlfriend. What's this talk about repaying kindness? Aren't I going to continue taking care of you in the future?" Felicity avoided his gaze, her voice barely audible. "There won't be a future." Chapter 8. After returning home, Felicity received a call from her editor. "Felicity, dear, your comic became a huge hit as soon as it was released. Readers are clamoring for a sequel. What are your thoughts?" Felicity had been busy at the hospital these past few days and had only just learned about this. The editor strongly hinted that she should strike while the iron was hot and draw a sequel, but she politely declined. Because the entire comic was a true love story based on her and Dylan, and she had ended it before the truth was revealed. To continue drawing would just be an inferior addition. Felicity opened her rarely used social media account and saw the rapidly increasing comments in her inbox, a smile appearing in her eyes. Seeing her finally a bit happier, Dylan also came over and started teasing her again. "The comic's getting good feedback? How about I throw a celebration party for my little comic artist?" Before Felicity could stop him, he had already sent out countless messages. She could only swallow her refusal and find another topic. "The comic, have you read it?" "No, I can't get into shoujo manga. What's it about? Just tell me." He hasn't even read it, and he wants to throw a celebration party. It's just an excuse to see Livia Lockwood, isn't it? Watching Dylan's fingers fly across the keyboard, his expression nonchalant. Felicity didn't waste her breath and got up to go to her room. This celebration party was held in the hotel ballroom. Livia Lockwood indeed came, but not alone. She brought a male companion, and the two were chatting and laughing, arm in arm. When Dylan saw this, he nearly crushed the glass in his hand. Felicity paid no attention to his mood and got up to go to the restroom. When she came out, she noticed a under-maintenance sign at the entrance and was wondering if something had happened when a figure suddenly appeared from around the corner. It was the male companion Livia had brought. He blocked her path, looking at her lewdly and whistling continuously. Felicity frowned, trying to walk around him, but he grabbed her hand, his alcohol-reeking mouth pressing towards her face. This sudden action scared her pale, and she instinctively raised her hand to resist. "What are you doing?" The man raised an eyebrow, his smile arrogant and vulgar. "Why pretend to be such a prude? Livy already told me you're really man-hungry, right? Don't compete with her. How about being with me, huh?" Saying this, he pinned her against the wash basin, using his height and strength to try and molest her. Felicity struggled desperately, but couldn't break free. Just as he was about to rip open her collar, she suddenly felt a flower pot on the counter. Without thinking, she grabbed it and smashed it against the back of his head. With a thud, the man's face contorted, and he collapsed limply to the ground. After successfully saving herself, Felicity didn't dare to look at him and forced herself to walk out of the restroom. As soon as she stepped out, she saw Livia Lockwood waiting outside. Felicity had been well protected by her family since childhood and was a gentle girl. But no matter how gentle, after just experiencing a deliberately arranged assault, she couldn't control her emotions. Remembering what the man had just said, Felicity didn't hesitate, raising her hand and slapping Livia hard across the face. "Livia Lockwood, you did this on purpose, didn't you?" Having been hit and seeing Felicity's furious state, Livia wasn't angry at all. She could even smile. "You mean that companion? So what if I intentionally brought him? I was just concerned about you. Look, ever since I came back, you, the stand-in, have been all alone in an empty house. Aren't you lonely? Zach has been around the block for years. He can definitely satisfy you." Hearing her barrage of insults, the enraged Felicity couldn't hold back anymore and raised her hand again. This time, before the slap could land on Livia's face, it was intercepted. Felicity turned her head and saw Dylan, his face grim. The person she was waiting for had arrived. Livia immediately put on a wronged expression, threw herself into his arms, and tears streamed down her face. "Dill, does your girlfriend hate me that much? I just got in her way, and she wanted to hit me, boo-hoo-hoo." Seeing the person in his arms crying so pitifully, Dylan's face instantly darkened. "Felicity Jameson, why would you attack someone without reason? Is this what Julian taught you? Is this what I taught you?" Felicity was so angry her eyes turned red, her voice trembling with residual fear. "Without reason, there are security cameras in the hallway. Go see for yourself why I hit her and what she actually did." She had intended to present the facts and evidence. Who would have thought Dylan would unconditionally believe Livia was innocent and wouldn't even want to look at any surveillance footage? "No matter what happened, you shouldn't have hit her besides. Livia has only met you once. What could she possibly do to you? You must apologize to her." Chapter 9, he actually wanted her to apologize to Livia Lockwood. For the victim to apologize to the perpetrator. Felicity's heart throbbed with pain. She resolutely shook her head. "I did nothing wrong. No matter what, I will never apologize." Felicity refused to apologize, and Dylan insisted on an explanation. Neither was willing to back down. Livia, afraid that dragging it out further would expose her, lifted her tear-filled face and pulled him, wanting to leave. "Dill, just assume it's my fault. Please don't argue with your girlfriend anymore. Let's calm down first, okay?" Dylan wouldn't listen. Seeing no other way, Livia steeled herself and twisted her left ankle hard. Seeing her injured, the expression on Dylan's face was immediately replaced by panic and distress. He no longer bothered with Felicity, picked Livia up, and ran downstairs. Watching their retreating figures, the hot blood surging in Felicity's body slowly cooled, replaced by endless grievance and sorrow. Tears she had held back for so long instantly fell. She quickly wiped them away, returned to the ballroom, picked up her bag, and left the hotel. Just as she stepped out of the hotel entrance, a car sped straight towards her. Felicity couldn't dodge in time and was thrown onto a flower bed, bleeding profusely. The pain made her break out in a cold sweat. By the time she was taken to the hospital, she was barely conscious. The nurse, seeing how badly injured she was, used her fingerprint to unlock her phone, found the pinned contact in her messaging app, and made a voice call. After a dozen seconds, Dylan's low voice, still laced with anger, came from the phone. "Livia is injured, so I didn't pursue it with you, but that doesn't mean you're not at fault. You must come over and apologize to her." The nurse was stunned for a moment, then reported Felicity's condition truthfully. Dylan was still furious and didn't believe such a coincidence could happen. Even if she really was in a car accident, she still has to apologize before I'll go over and sign anything. With that, he hung up, regardless of the reaction on the other end. The nurse had no choice but to forcibly wake Felicity and ask if she could contact any other relatives. She didn't want to worry her family, and she couldn't think of anyone else. She could only endure the severe pain and, with a hand still dripping blood, tremblingly sign her name on the surgical consent form. The surgery was successful, but she had to stay in the hospital for a few days for observation. Felicity was alone in the hospital, with no one to care for her. She had to drag her ailing body to do everything herself. A few nurses nearby were chatting idly, saying that young Master Dalton's little girlfriend was injured, and he had booked the entire floor upstairs for her, personally taking care of her with gentle patience every day. It seemed he was very fond of her. Felicity lay in her hospital bed, listening silently. She took out her phone, cleared all her past relationship posts one by one, and then deleted all of Dylan's contact information. On the day of her discharge, she went to handle the procedures alone and happened to bump into Dylan at the elevator, carrying Livia back to her room. She gave them a cold glance, then turned her head away and walked towards the staircase. Dylan caught sight of her in his peripheral vision, but by the time he reacted and turned around, there was no one there. He subconsciously thought he was hallucinating. After all, Felicity was so afraid of pain. When her knee was hit by a ball in school, he had held her and comforted her for a long, long time. If she had really been in a car accident, how could she have endured the grievance and not told him? After returning home, Felicity called a housekeeping service and had them throw away everything she had previously cleared out. Then she walked into the study and tore up the diary she had kept for 8 years, page by page. The thrill of love at first sight at 15, the courage to go north alone for him at 17, the joy of her wish coming true at 18. The girlish feelings that had trapped her for 8 years completely vanished on this day. She placed the breakup letter where Dylan would see it as soon as he returned, pushed her last bit of luggage out of the house, and went downstairs to hail a taxi. The driver saw she was injured and quickly helped put her suitcase in the trunk. She turned back, wanting to take one last look at the city she had lived in for 6 years, but her gaze met a familiar pair of eyes. Dylan had just gotten out of his car. Seeing her, his expression softened considerably. Going out, Felicity looked at him quietly, the love once in her eyes now gone. "Is there something you need?" Dylan didn't notice, only thinking she was still unwilling to yield, a hint of helplessness flashing in his eyes. "Came back to get something, and I wanted to talk to you." "No." Before Felicity could finish her refusal, Dylan's phone rang. He answered it, and his brow slowly furrowed. After hanging up, he turned back, opened his car door again, and hastily left a sentence before getting in. "Since you haven't calmed down yet, we'll talk next time. Be careful when you go out and remember to come back early." Come back? I'll never come back. Only when the car was out of sight did Felicity get into the taxi, urged by the driver. She closed the car door, looking at the weather outside that threatened an imminent storm, her eyes like stagnant water without a ripple. "Miss, where to?" "The airport." Chapter 10. A few hours later, the plane landed safely in Shanghai. As soon as she exited the arrival gate, Felicity saw her family waiting at the entrance and quickened her pace. From a distance, Julian Jameson noticed the bandage on her hand, hurried forward to take her luggage, his eyes filled with distress. "How did you get injured? Why didn't you tell us?" Marcus and Alina Jameson also saw it, their faces falling. They carefully examined her wound. "Does it hurt? If something happens, you have to tell Mom and Dad so we can come pick you up." "It's wrapped so tightly, it must be a serious injury. Let's skip dinner and go to the hospital right now." Having been injured for so long, this was the first time Felicity had been cared for like this. The suppressed grievances and sorrow in her heart could no longer be held back and streamed down as tears. Seeing her daughter cry, Alina's eyes also reddened. Marcus and Julian became anxious, immediately taking out their phones to contact a doctor. Seeing everyone worried about her, Felicity felt a little embarrassed. Wiping her tears, she sobbed as she comforted them. "Dad, Mom, Jules, I'm fine. It's not a serious injury. It's just been too long since I saw you all. I missed you." Hearing this, the three of them finally relaxed. Julian patted her head, his tone full of indignation. "Who told you to run off so far? You refused to come back after graduation, no matter what. Now you know how good home is, huh?" Seeing her son acting like a domineering older brother again, Alina reached out and tweaked his ear, lecturing him as they walked. "Yesterday you were grumbling about the weather for half the day, worried the plane would be delayed. Today Fee is back and you're putting on an act again. If you had cared a little more about your sister, wouldn't she have come back sooner?" Watching Julian get disciplined, Felicity burst into laughter through her tears. The dark clouds that had lingered in her heart for so long slowly dissipated under her family's care. Her mood was like the warm summer sun outside the window, brilliantly radiant. Because Felicity said she was hungry, the family went home to eat first. Whether it was because her mood had improved or because the home-cooked food was exceptionally fragrant, she ate half as much more than usual this meal. After dinner, she felt a little drowsy and was about to go to her bedroom to rest when Julian insisted on dragging her out. Mom and Dad said you need to see a doctor about this injury so they can rest assured. Just come with me obediently. Since he brought up their parents, Felicity had no choice but to yawn and get in the car. Along the way, the siblings chatted about everyday family matters, and Felicity gradually woke up. She looked at the increasingly deserted streetscape outside the window, searched her memory, and hesitantly spoke. Is this the way to the hospital? Who told you we're going to a hospital? The doctor I'm taking you to see is no ordinary hospital doctor, you know. Felicity knew at once that her brother was up to his old tricks again. It was probably another of his friends who had returned from studying abroad, someone he was deeply proud of, and just had to show off in front of her. And Julian didn't disappoint her, rattling off a long list of this doctor's titles. Something about being the youngest medical professor in the country, the founder of some discipline, a whole jumble of things. Felicity, very obligingly, made sounds of admiration, and then, under Julian's proud gaze, deliberately asked him, "Jules, your friend is so young yet so composed, mature, and influential. Why are you, at 27, still getting your ear tweaked by Mom?" Just as they arrived at their destination, Julian parked the car and was about to turn around to reprimand this sister, who had been teasing him since her return. When he turned his head and saw the person waiting at the door, a brilliant smile reappeared on his face. "You're all sharp-tongued with your brother now, but when you meet him in a bit, remember to treat him the same way, okay? I'd like to see, with two people and two mouths, who'll win when you two eventually argue." Chapter 11. Argue. Why would she argue with a doctor for no reason? Felicity looked over with confusion, but only saw Julian's back as he got out of the car. He was probably still holding a grudge, not even helping her open the car door, just swaggering off to greet the person at the entrance. Though Felicity didn't always give her brother face, she was still a bit nervous in front of strangers. Not to mention, the person she was about to meet was a doctor. The Jamesons all knew that Felicity feared seeing doctors more than anything in her life, so she sat quietly in the car, observing, trying to delay the meeting. After chatting with his old friend for a while, Julian finally realized his sister was still in the car. He glared, walked back, stood in front of the car, and waved at his sister, urging her to get out quickly and say hello. Felicity took a deep breath, adjusted her expression, and was about to lift her hand to open the car door. Thump! The car door was opened from the outside. She looked up and met a pair of deep eyes. Seeing her, a ripple disturbed the originally calm and waveless eyes. As his gaze shifted, the inherent cool aura around the newcomer quietly receded, leaving only a gentle warmth. "Miss Jameson, a pleasure to meet you. I'm Julian's friend, Sila's Sterling." Felicity was stunned for a moment before reacting, subconsciously extending her injured hand to shake his. Looking at the hand wrapped in gauze like a rice dumpling, Sila's Sterling thought for a second, then decisively extended his own right hand about 10 centimeters further, supporting her elbow. Felicity was shocked by his action. Lowering her head, she saw she had extended her injured right hand, and her face immediately turned crimson. Just as she was awkwardly wondering what to do, Sila's Sterling gently shielded the low car door frame and politely reminded her, "You're injured. Please be careful getting out of the car." Only then did Felicity understand his intention. She quickly bent down and hopped out of the car. As soon as she landed, she swiftly withdrew her right hand and nodded slightly in thanks. "Thank you. You're welcome." Julian, who had been watching the show from the side, saw his sister's flushed ears and couldn't help but burst out laughing on the spot. Both of them turned their heads at the sound. He quickly covered his mouth, pretending nothing had happened. "I've completed my orders from above. My job here is done. I'm going to play a couple of rounds. You two can do as you please, as you please." With that, he bolted as if his soles were greased, striding confidently and familiarly towards the golf course behind the villa. Leaving her here with a doctor she just met. What kind of brother was he? Felicity gritted her teeth, silently cursing him to take a big fall. Sila's Sterling, however, was quite at ease. After gently closing the car door, he made an "please enter" gesture towards Felicity. Out of respect for the doctor, she didn't even dare to lift her eyes, silently following 3 steps behind him. Once in the living room, she consciously took a seat on the sofa. Sila's Sterling went upstairs and came down with a large box. Felicity instinctively started to unwrap the gauze on her hand, but because it was her left hand and the knot was tight, she couldn't undo it after several attempts. Seeing her about to break into a sweat from frustration, Sila's, who had been waiting quietly nearby, spoke gently. "Let me." Only then did Felicity look up at him, nodding with some hesitation. After receiving permission, Sila's squatted down, gently placed her hand on the sofa armrest, and slowly untied the knot. As the gauze was unwrapped layer by layer, a gruesome 20-centimeter long wound was revealed. Just one look, and Sila Sterling's brow furrowed tightly. He looked at Felicity, his eyes full of concern. "Such a long wound. How did you get injured?" "I was hit by an electric scooter. My hand scraped against the edge of a flower bed." Chapter 12. In front of a doctor, Felicity didn't dare to lie and could only tell the truth. After Sila Sterling heard this, he wrapped the gauze as it was, tied it back, then moved the first aid kit aside and stood up. Seeing his strange action, a trace of surprise flashed across Felicity's face. Isn't he going to examine the wound? Why did he bandage it back up? After sending a few messages on his phone, Sila's picked up the keys from the table and turned to look at her. "Let's go. We need to get you thoroughly checked at the hospital." "There's no need. I was checked in Northwood City. The doctor said it was nothing serious before I was discharged." Although Felicity refused, it was no use. Sila Sterling looked at her steadily, his eyes conveying unyielding determination, yet his tone was extremely gentle. "A car accident warrants a comprehensive examination. Your hand will need to be able to draw in the future." Hearing the last sentence, Felicity was immediately persuaded and stood up to leave with him. The two of them rushed to the nearest hospital and underwent another full-body checkup. Only after getting the results and confirming there were no issues did Felicity finally breathe a sigh of relief. She looked at Sila Sterling, who was intently applying medicine to her wound, and thanked him very sincerely. "Thank you for your trouble today, Dr. Sterling. You're welcome, just call me Sila's." "Sila's? Isn't that a bit inappropriate? It's only our first meeting and he's my brother's friend. No matter how you look at it, I can't call him that intimately, can I?" Felicity didn't dare to make a sound, muttering to herself internally when her phone dinged. She picked it up with her left hand and opened it. It was a message from Julian Jameson. "Where did you go? Shy. The fiancé your bro picked for you, not bad, huh?" Felicity's eyes scanned from left to right, and when they landed on the word fiancé, they froze. Fiancé? Sila Sterling is her fiancé. She was so shocked by this news that she abruptly pulled her hand back, looking at the man before her with utter disbelief. Chapter 13. Sila Sterling remained relatively calm, looking over with a composed expression, and kindly asked with concern, "Does it hurt a lot? Was I too rough?" Only then did Felicity realize her gaffe and quickly shook her head a few times. Seeing that she didn't seem to be in pain, but rather startled, Sila's, while reflecting on his recent words and actions, gently pulled back the hand he hadn't finished treating and continued his work. After learning the truth, Felicity held her breath, her eyes frequently darting towards the man in front of her, secretly observing him. His eyelashes are long and curled, a bit enviable. His fingers are slender, very suitable for some nail art or something. His hair is thick, doesn't quite look like a medical student. In the time it took to apply the medicine, a dozen thoughts raced through Felicity's mind, and the more she looked, the more absorbed she became. When Sila's finished bandaging her hand and looked up, he met her appraising gaze, a hint of surprise flashing in his eyes. "What's wrong?" "Dr. Sila's, bro I mean Sila's." In a few seconds, she switched between 3 forms of address, each feeling inappropriate, ultimately creating an awkward appellation. Seeing his questioning gaze, Felicity hesitated and struggled for a long time before deciding to ask tactfully, "The jewelry at my house, did you pick it out personally?" Sila Sterling nodded slightly. "Yes, don't you like it? When you have time, we can go pick out some more." Felicity quickly shook her head, forcing a bright smile. I like it very much." After several hours together, he finally saw her smile. Although this smile didn't seem entirely genuine, the hidden worry in Sila Sterling's heart slowly dissipated. At least for a first meeting, the initial impression was pleasant. That was enough. Livia Lockwood stayed in the hospital for a week, her bones practically softening from lying down. On the day of her discharge, the rain that had been falling in Northwood City for 3 days finally stopped. After Dylan Dalton dropped her home, he turned to leave. She wanted to ask him to stay for a meal, but he frowned and made an excuse to decline. Watching his figure disappear through the doorway, Livia Lockwood dropped her feigned disappointment and picked up her phone to call a few of her girlfriends. Felicity Jameson is out of the hospital. I haven't seen her at the hospital these past few days. She's really got a lucky star to survive even that. Through the door, Dylan heard Livia's triumphant tone and his hand on the doorknob froze. Dill left, huh? He probably went to find her. It's fine, I'll just send a casual message later and he'll definitely come back. Zach Adler's head got bashed in. She really plays rough. Next time, we'll get more people. Let's see if she can escape then. Dill definitely trusts me. Felicity Jameson wanted to see the security footage, and he didn't even bother. You didn't see the look on her face then, otherwise, you would have laughed and given the game away on the spot. Livia's uninhibited complaints, one after another, struck Dylan's ears like thunder. Security footage. He suddenly remembered the situation before leaving the bar, and his whole body tensed. Did something really happen that day before he arrived? His hand unconsciously clenched, his brow furrowed tightly. After a few more laughs from the room, silence returned. But a monstrous wave had surged in Dylan's heart. He no longer cared about the car keys left inside, turned around, went out, hailed a cab, and rushed to the bar. Under the pretext of having lost something, Dylan successfully retrieved the security footage from a week ago. The footage showed Livia's friends clearing everyone out of the restroom. After Felicity went in, they placed a maintenance sign at the door and left. Then, the man Livia had brought, taking advantage of the empty surroundings, walked into the restroom. A few minutes later, Felicity ran out in a panic and slapped Livia, who was waiting at the door. The recording clearly captured their conversation. Dylan's face grew uglier and uglier as he listened to Livia's words. But what he found most difficult to accept was the video recorded by the camera at the entrance. Two of Livia's friends, riding an electric scooter, sped over and directly knocked Felicity out of the camera's frame. He remembered the phone call that night, and then Livia's words on the phone just now. He felt as if the blood in his veins had frozen. His heart pounded like a drum. He took out his phone to message Felicity. Just as he pressed send, a message failed notification and a red exclamation mark appeared on the screen. Felicity deleted his contact on the messaging app. The moment this thought emerged, Dylan's hand trembled uncontrollably. He quickly switched to the dialer and called her. After a long series of beeps, a cold female voice announced the call could not be connected, blocked his number too. Dylan felt as if something was stuck in his throat, making it hard to breathe. He could no longer control himself, sprinted downstairs, hailed a cab, and rushed home. Pushing open the door, he saw the living room, now so unfamiliar to him, and stood there completely stunned. The display cabinet that used to hold many dolls, the photos hanging on the wall, the table piled with art drafts. As far as the eye could see, every place that used to hold Felicity's things was now completely empty, with nothing left. In disbelief, he walked into the rooms, only to find the study, bathroom, studio, and bedroom all equally, spotlessly clean. Dylan turned the entire apartment upside down, but couldn't find a single item related to Felicity. She, along with all her belongings, had vanished without a trace, as if she had evaporated into thin air. But she had no acquaintances in Northwood City. Where could she have gone without a word? Dylan's mind was a blank, his eyes filled with confusion. His eyes darted around, and his peripheral vision suddenly caught a letter on the bedside table. He rushed over to open it. The moment he saw the first line, he froze. Dylan Dalton, let's break up. Chapter 14, when Dylan Dalton's call came, Julian Jameson was, under his mother's coercion, peeling lychees for his dear sister. His hands were sticky with sweet juice, making it inconvenient, so he gestured for Felicity to get his phone. Felicity picked it up. Seeing the caller ID, her smiling face froze for a moment, then quickly returned to normal. She pressed the answer button, held the phone to Julian's ear, and then took a bite of a fresh lychee. The jelly-like, soft flesh burst between her lips and teeth, the sweet fragrance filling her entire throat. So sweet. Dylan said something, and Julian frowned, turning his head with a strange expression. Facing her brother's odd gaze, Felicity remained calm, took a few tissues, haphazardly wiped his hands, and then stuffed the phone into his grasp. Julian was about to ask something when the butler suddenly led Sila's Sterling in. Upon seeing him, Eleanor Jameson quickly rose to greet him. After a few pleasantries, Sila's sat down next to Felicity. With his brother-in-law present, the words on the tip of Julian's tongue were no longer appropriate to ask. Julian had to give up, took the phone, and walked outside before speaking with a scolding laugh. "Dill, what are you looking for my sister for? She's busy right now, no time to take your call." Busy for real or just an excuse? Dylan couldn't gauge the situation, his tone growing colder. "Her injury, is it serious?" Hearing this, a hint of surprise flashed in Julian's eyes. "You know she's injured too. Why didn't you let me know sooner? Otherwise, I would have gone to Northwood City to pick her up, and we brothers could have had a couple of drinks." Dylan's mind was consumed with why Felicity wanted to break up. He was in no mood to talk about drinking. He pressed his temples and steered the conversation back. "Is she really busy? I have something urgent to ask her. Is it really inconvenient?" Hearing his unusual tone, Julian glanced back and happened to see Sila's peeling a lychee and handing it to his sister. A fond, almost maternal smile immediately spread across his face. "She's really busy. Would I lie to you, bro?" Hearing this smiling voice, Dylan's already flustered heart sank even further. He knew this was most likely an excuse. Julian had always doted on his sister. It must be Felicity who didn't want to take the call, so he made up an excuse to deceive him. He was frantic, but in front of his friend, he couldn't reveal too much. He could only suppress his agitation and was about to book a flight to Shanghai. Julian, on the other end of the line, seemed to remember something and exclaimed several times, "Are you free next week? There's a happy occasion at home. Are you coming to join the fun? Big E and Young X have already agreed to come, for my sake." Dylan was just looking for a suitable excuse to fly over. Hearing this, he immediately let go of the mouse and asked casually about the time. "When is it? Let me see if I'm free." "Next Friday. Even if you're not free, you have to make time for me, otherwise, I'll rough you up next time we meet, 5 days later, not too long." Dylan agreed. Before hanging up, he, still worried, emphasized again, "Remember to tell Fee to call me back." Got it. I'll definitely relay young Master Dalton's words verbatim. "She's really busy right now. Whether she calls back or not is her business. Really busy? Isn't she injured? Her work should also be on hold. What could she be busy with?" Dylan was pondering this when he suddenly heard Eleanor's voice on the phone. "Julian, we're heading to the bridal shop first. You hurry over. Bridal shop? Who's getting married?" Chapter 15, Dylan was about to ask, but Julian didn't give him the chance, hastily saying goodbye and hanging up. He sounded as eager as a groom. Thinking of this, Dylan recalled what Julian had just said. A joyous occasion, both roommates were going, and if he didn't go, Julian would rough him up. Is Julian Jameson getting married? No wonder Felicity left without a word. Dylan called his assistant, asking her to prepare a generous gift in advance and book a plane ticket. After all, Julian was a good friend he had known for 10 years. Now that he was getting married, Dylan couldn't go empty-handed. After arranging everything, Dylan looked at the empty room again, no longer feeling as panicked and helpless as before. He picked up the letter beside him and directly put it in the ashtray, burning it. Watching the leaping flames, he rubbed his eyes intending to rest when his phone screen suddenly lit up. He picked up the phone and saw it was a message from Livia Lockwood asking him to come over. His recently improved complexion darkened again. Remembering the words he had heard at her doorstep and the images he had seen on the bar's computer, he felt a chill deep in his heart. So in places he couldn't see, Livia Lockwood had a second face. The obedience, willfulness, kindness, and affection she showed him, how much of it was real. Dylan didn't want to doubt her, yet he couldn't help but suspect. He sat alone in his bedroom, thinking for a long time before finally making up his mind and calling Sean Shaw. "Sean, didn't you say last time that one of Livia's friends added you? Ask her out for a drink, get her drunk. There are some things I need your help to find out." It wasn't until she walked into the bridal shop that Felicity finally felt the reality of getting married. Looking at the soft, cloud-like skirts, complex emotions surged in her heart. Once upon a time, marriage was indeed on her agenda. Only a few months had passed, and she was truly about to walk down the aisle. But the groom was no longer the person she had once chosen. Recalling the past, Felicity felt everything was hazy and dreamlike, as if she had watched a movie. Now the curtain had fallen, she had walked out of the cinema, detached herself from the empathetic protagonist, and was ready to stride boldly into the future. And the one accompanying her, about to start a new story with her, would be Sila's Sterling. She didn't know what the future held, how long this marriage would last, or whether she would regret making the decision to marry young. She held no expectations for the unknown. Similarly, she wouldn't harbor any pessimistic thoughts. After all, in these brief 3 days of contact, Sila Sterling had left a very good impression on her. He and Dylan Dalton were complete opposites. When he was with her, he never made any jokes that troubled her, and his gaze towards her was always focused and firm. He would contact many friends to help her find medication to reduce scarring. He would tentatively try to get closer to her, inquire about her likes, dislikes, and hobbies, yet he would maintain a reasonable distance. Slowly, Felicity grew accustomed to his quiet presence by her side, accustomed to his gentle and meticulous care. Just like now, Silas knew she was injured and inconvenienced, so he specially called his cousin, who was of similar height and build, to help try on wedding dresses. He knew girls loved beauty, so while she was choosing a wedding dress, he would help look for suitable gloves to cover the wound that hadn't fully healed. Marriage was clearly a matter for the two of them. Yet he arranged everything thoughtfully, perfectly, and impeccably. Just watching him personally try on gloves, checking if the material and tightness would affect the wound, made Felicity feel at ease. She nudged Julian, who was fiddling with a veil, and rarely praised him. "Jules, your taste in picking a groom is actually pretty good. I'm very satisfied." Chapter 16. But of course your brother, a man of such talent and handsome bearing, could the person I choose be bad? Julian Jameson's face was full of pride as he held the veil against her head, sizing it up. Felicity gave him a thumbs up in appreciation, then lowered her voice to coax out information. Then, why would such an outstanding young talent like him agree to an arranged marriage with me? At this topic, Julian raised an eyebrow, looking even more smug. Silas is famously known as the iceberg prof. Since childhood, he's dedicated himself to medicine. Love and romance are like fleeting clouds in his eyes. His family, seeing him like this, naturally urged him. We, his good friends, of course, had to help look around. But out of a dozen introductions, he didn't fancy a single one. Until my birthday party, I invited him over. He saw our family photo, stared at you for a long time. I sensed something, so I tentatively brought it up, and he actually responded that's when I thought of setting you two up. But you were so stubborn, refusing to budge no matter what. If he hadn't patiently waited for you for over half a year, you wouldn't have had such good luck, Felicity thought carefully. The first time she heard about the arranged marriage, it did seem to be about half a year ago. She didn't know about Livia Lockwood back then, so no matter how her family persuaded her, she hadn't agreed. Silas knew she was unwilling and still waited for her for half a year. Felicity was somewhat surprised. Julian, seeing her dazed, gently flicked her forehead. "By the way, Dylan Dalton called me before I left, said he wanted to ask you something. Remember to contact him." Although Felicity nodded nonchalantly, she had no intention of contacting him. Seeing her expression, the suspicion in Julian's heart finally dissipated. "He's taken care of you for so long, there's at least some brother-sisterly affection there. I've invited him to your wedding on your behalf." The moment he said this, Felicity froze. "He knows I'm getting married?" Julian squinted, trying to recall what he had said before leaving the house, missing the shocked expression on her face. "Forgot to mention that, but he should know it's you, right? Otherwise, if I were getting married, he'd definitely have to be a groomsman." Seeing the uncertain look on his face, Felicity was momentarily speechless. What an unreliable brother. When Sean Shaw delivered the voice recorder, his face was full of reluctance. Dylan reached out to take it, but Sean held onto it tightly, hesitatingly trying to persuade him. "Dill, why don't we just let it go? You waited for Livia for 8 years and couldn't let her go. Some things don't need to be dug into so deeply. It's better for you and for her." Seeing his childhood friend speak so euphemistically, Dylan instantly realized that the content of this recording was probably even more complicated than he had imagined. His already wavering heart slowly sank into an endless darkness. His face darkened. He forcefully snatched the voice recorder and pressed play. "Daisy, I still don't understand why Livy suddenly wanted to break up and go abroad back then. Back then, it was Mrs. Dalton who talked to Livy. She said the Daltons would never agree to let her marry into the family and then gave her a large sum of money. Livy was young and got scared, so she took the money and went abroad. Later, we heard that several of young Master Dalton's girlfriends looked like Livy, so we jokingly mentioned it to her. When she found out, she immediately came back. She probably hadn't let go either. Since she hasn't let go, why not just tell Dill directly? Dill hasn't let go of her either. As long as she says the word, they can get back together. You don't understand. This is called playing hard to get, Livy said. Only by arguing and causing a bit of trouble, making young Master Dalton remember what happened 8 years ago, will he stay by her side devotedly. Chapter 17. Only today did Dylan Dalton learn the real reason why Livia Lockwood had insisted on breaking up with him. It was for money. He had laid his heart bare before her, and it still couldn't compare to a breakup fee of tens of millions of dollars. He didn't know what he was feeling right now. He just couldn't stop himself from laughing coldly. He didn't know if he was laughing at his naive self or at her clever scheming. Seeing his best friend in this state, Sean Shaw knew that Dylan was probably completely disillusioned this time. He sighed heavily and played another video. The screen showed a hospital setting. The camera focused on Zach Adler, the man who had been knocked out at the bar. Under threat, he looked at the camera with a terrified expression, stammering as he recounted what happened that day. It was Livy who asked me too to mess with Miss Jameson. She said Miss Jameson wasn't behaving herself and asked me to teach her a lesson. The video was only halfway through when Dylan couldn't listen anymore. He snatched the camera and smashed it against the wall. His face, flushed with anger, slowly drained of color. Only a desolate, ashen gray remained. The room was silent for a long time. So long that Sean, lost in thought, was about to fall asleep when Dylan finally spoke, his voice hoarse. Set something up. Invite everyone. Don't miss a single one. After choosing the wedding dress, relatives and friends from both sides tactfully found excuses to leave, reserving the evening for the engaged couple. Looking at the boundless, brilliant sunset in the sky, Felicity was in a good mood and proactively suggested going for a walk. The riverside was crowded. Sila's Sterling, afraid someone might bump into her and aggravate her wound, stood close to her right side, carefully protecting her. Along the path, there were many small stalls selling toys and snacks. Felicity glanced a few more times at a balloon bouquet twisted into the shape of a sunflower, and he noticed immediately, bought it, and handed it to her. Many children nearby saw it, looked over with envious eyes, and whispered among their friends, "How come this big sister still likes balloons?" Felicity felt a little embarrassed upon hearing this and hid the balloon behind her back. Sila Sterling, unexpectedly, bought a few more balloon flowers, gave them to 3 children, and told them very seriously, "You are little friends, and she is a big friend. As long as you like them, everyone can have their own flower balloon." The children, blushing, thanked him and ran off laughing, holding their balloons. When Sila's turned around, he saw Felicity staring at him blankly, a soft light in her eyes. "What's wrong?" Felicity, as if waking from a dream, gently shook her head and gave a faint smile. "I've been an adult for too long. It's been a while since I heard such a cute conversation. Then, when we have time in the future, let's go out for walks more often. Seeing more should also help with your creative work, right? Everyone is looking forward to your new comic." Hearing him suddenly mention her work, a trace of surprise flashed across Felicity's face. "You know I draw comics. Have you seen my work?" Sila Sterling readily admitted it. "I've seen it. It's very well drawn." Although the praise was simple, because it came from Sila Sterling's lips, Felicity was still touched. This was the first time she had heard someone close to her express approval for the dream she pursued. She lifted her eyes, looking at the sincere face so close to hers, and the thought in her heart grew firmer. "Then have you read the latest published comic?" Her tone was so natural that Sila's was unsure how to answer, but in the end, he chose honesty. "I've read it." An expected answer, yet it made Felicity sigh with relief. She looked at the red sun gradually setting in the distance. The evening breeze blew her long hair, and even her voice became distant. "It's getting late. Let's have a cup of coffee. The true ending of that comic, I think you have the right to know." Chapter 18. The Dalton family owned a villa outside Cloudcrest Manor. It was usually deserted, but on this Tuesday evening, It was exceptionally lively. The young masters and ladies from Northwood City's elite circles who were friendly with Dylan Dalton had all received invitations and arrived punctually. Upon entering, everyone looked at the hall, decorated like a wedding venue, and exchanged puzzled glances. Young Master Dalton, is he proposing? Then the leading lady is. Everyone scanned the room, but didn't see the young girlfriend he had recently made public. So their gazes fell upon Livia Lockwood, dressed in a gorgeous gown, and they began to whisper. New clothes aren't as good as old, new people aren't as good as the old flame. It seems young Master Dalton still chose his first love in the end. Poor ex-girlfriend, probably doesn't even know why she was dumped. Listening to the whispers around her, and looking at the various roses filling the hall, Livia Lockwood's eyes were full of triumph. She knew Dylan Dalton would choose her in the end. He had loved her for 8 years, his heart unchanged. What right did Felicity Jameson have to compete with her? As the banquet was about to begin, a few of her girlfriends pulled her to the restroom, took out their portable makeup kits, and insisted on touching up her makeup. Young Master Dalton is about to propose in public, Livia. You have to maintain your best state. Exactly, those young ladies outside are going to be so jealous of you later. You have to outshine them all. Listening to her friend's flattery, Livia Lockwood couldn't stop smiling. She squinted her eyes, as if already seeing the blissful scene of her dreams coming true. Everything went as Livia Lockwood imagined. At the climax of the banquet, Dylan Dalton, who had not yet appeared, made his entrance in a black suit, accompanied by a suddenly playing romantic piano piece. He held a bouquet of red roses and, under the gaze of the entire room, walked up to Livia Lockwood, taking out a ring box from his pocket. The moment the box was opened, a 20-carat diamond ring was revealed, instantly drawing gasps of amazement from the crowd. Many sharp-eyed young ladies had already guessed the origin of this ring and exclaimed in surprise. Isn't that the eternal heart that sold for a sky-high price of $1 billion a while ago? Young Master Dalton actually has it. Proposing with this ring, young Master Dalton is truly deeply devoted to Miss Lockwood. These envious voices reached Livia Lockwood's ears, giving her even more confidence. She tilted her chin slightly, revealing her slender neck like a noble swan. But in front of Dylan Dalton, she still had to feign ignorance, so she raised her hand to half cover her lips, feigning surprise. Dill, what is this? Dylan Dalton didn't answer her, but instead showed her the answer with his actions. He took a few steps back, knelt on one knee, lifted those captivating, almond-shaped eyes, and asked with a beaming smile the question Livia Lockwood had longed to hear. Will you marry me? It's unknown who started it, but someone cheered, and the whole room erupted in a frenzy, like boiling water overflowing, with constant shouts and screams. Livia Lockwood was moved beyond words, and slowly extended her right hand. The word, will, hadn't even left her lips when the piano music eerily stopped. The romantic atmosphere that had been built up for so long vanished in an instant. The guests at the scene uniformly turned their heads, trying to see what had gone wrong, but couldn't find the problem. They could only tacitly shift their gaze to the star of the banquet, the planner of the proposal ceremony, Dylan Dalton. Livia Lockwood also felt her spirits dampened and pouted coquettishly. Dill, this piano music, I stopped it. Dylan Dalton told her the answer as he stood up. By the time he stood straight and looked up again, the smile on his face had completely vanished, leaving only a cold indifference. Seeing his change in expression, many people could sense that something big was about to happen. They all held their breath. Chapter 19, only Livia Lockwood, still immersed in the beautiful dream of being proposed to, pouted as usual, throwing a little tantrum. If you act like this, I won't say yes. Dylan Dalton nodded nonchalantly, dropping a sentence that made everyone in the room widen their eyes. Whether you say yes or not, it's not important, because the one I wanted to propose to was never you in the first place. Livia Lockwood looked at him with utter disbelief, her whole body trembling uncontrollably. What do you mean by that? What do I mean? Dylan casually tossed the flowers in his hand to the ground, then snap, he closed the ring box in his palm. It means the person I wanted to propose to is not you, Livia Lockwood. As his words fell, the entire hall was dead silent, only faint breathing could be heard. Dylan Dalton paid no mind to her current expression, turned around, bowed to the guests, and spoke with a smile in his tone. My apologies, everyone. Actually, today was just a proposal rehearsal. This Sunday, at the same place and time, I will propose to my girlfriend. I hope everyone can be there to witness it." Those who could mingle in this circle were all sharp individuals. They quickly realized that everything today was merely to embarrass Livia Lockwood. Everyone was happy to do Dylan Dalton this favor, pretending nothing had happened, and waved their hands. It's fine, we'll definitely be there to support young Master Dalton." Young Master Dalton even rehearses his proposal, so grandly Miss Jameson is truly fortunate. The sounds of smoothing things over coming from all directions were undoubtedly adding fuel to the fire for the nearly collapsing Livia Lockwood. She could no longer care about dignity, screaming at Dylan Dalton, her voice piercingly sharp. "Dylan Dalton, you dare to play me?" The venue fell silent again. Dylan Dalton slowly turned around, resuming his nonchalant demeanor. "Play you? That's too harsh a word. I think help is better. Livia Lockwood, you're not even my girlfriend. Anyone with a brain knows I wouldn't propose to you, right? Why would you have such a misconception?" His words were harsh, and Dylan Dalton's tone was flippant, causing many people to cover their mouths and snicker. Livia Lockwood was so enraged she completely lost her mind, crazily knocking over the champagne tower beside her. "You dare to humiliate me like this? You FC King better not regret it." The surrounding guests screamed and scattered, but Dylan Dalton stood firm, letting the cold liquor splash onto him. He took out a handkerchief from his pocket, slowly wiping the alcohol stains from his face, not even deigning to spare her a glance. "Regret? I'm about to get married. What's there to regret? Regret angering you? Just an ex-girlfriend from 8 years ago with no significant family background. Is there any need to regret that?" Every word stabbed at Livia Lockwood's heart. Listening to the increasingly unrestrained ridicule from those around her, she couldn't hold back any longer, lifted her skirt, and rushed out of the hall. She had just reached the entrance when she was stopped by police officers who were just pushing the door open. "Livia Lockwood, right? Someone has reported that you are suspected in an attempted rape case. Please come with us." Seeing the police officers suddenly appear before her, Livia Lockwood was completely stunned. She whipped her head around and met Dylan Dalton's incomparably icy gaze. Zach Adler turned himself in, and the bar's surveillance footage has been handed over to the police. "You can go in peace. Remember to tell the truth. Strive for a lighter sentence. Get out early. Maybe you can still make it to my wedding with Fee." Chapter 20. By Thursday evening, Dylan Dalton still hadn't received a return call from Felicity Jameson. He was extremely irritable, downing drinks while his eyes frequently darted to his phone screen. Sean Shaw knew what was on his mind and tried to console him. "She's definitely just throwing a little girlish tantrum, waiting for you to coax her. Everyone can see how much Fee likes you. How could she really want to break up? If you ask me, it's probably her instigating her brother to invite you to the wedding, just to give you a way out." Hearing these words, Dylan finally felt a little better. He watched the time, and at 9 o'clock, he immediately got up and headed for the airport. Sean drove him. During a red light, he looked at the several exquisitely packaged gift boxes in the back seat, his tone laced with a hint of sourness. "Isn't it just a college roommate getting married? Do you need to make such a big deal out of it? You even dug out your grandfather's most prized possessions. When I get married, you better not play favorites." Dylan glanced at him and tossed the pearl bracelet in his hand over. "What roommate? That's my future brother-in-law. Once I propose, we'll be family. Isn't it normal to give some treasures? Look at your unpromising face. Oh, calling him brother-in-law already. Fee hasn't said yes to you, yet you silently spirited away his sister. I reckon you're going to lose a layer of skin when you go to Shanghai this time." Hearing his teasing voice, Dylan's long-depressed mood finally cleared. He had already made up his mind. This trip to Shanghai was, 1, to congratulate Julian Jameson, and 2, to meet the Jameson family and confess their relationship. As long as Felicity could forgive him and agree to marry him, even if it meant taking 10 beatings, he was willing. The wedding was held at Shanghai's largest outdoor hotel. At 9 in the morning, the hotel manager received a notification to temporarily move one table's name cards to the exit area and to strengthen on-site security. At 10 o'clock, guests began to arrive one after another. The spacious lawn was bustling with people, incredibly lively. Dylan had arrived at his pre-booked hotel at midnight the day before. After resting for a night and meeting up with 2 roommates he hadn't seen in years, he came to the wedding venue. The 3 of them discussed where to gather after the wedding as they walked into the venue. A nearby waiter, after inquiring about their names, respectfully led them to their seats. They arrived in just a few steps. Dylan, looking at the distance from the main stage and the people coming and going around him, cursed with a laugh. Julian Jameson, that bastard, he dragged us 3 brothers all the way here and then sticks us in this godforsaken corner. That's really not cool, his 2 roommates strongly agreed, complaining along with him. It's so far, we won't even be able to see the bride's face later. Why even bother coming to witness the ceremony? We might as well watch a live stream in the hotel. It'd be clearer than this. Tell me about it, don't let me catch that kid, or I'll kick him a couple of times for sure. Though the 3 of them were grumbling, they still sat down out of courtesy. Dylan took out his phone, snapped a few pictures, sent them to Julian Jameson, and added a questioning caption. This far, is this how you treat your brothers? The other side was probably busy and didn't reply for a long time. Dylan knew Julian would be tied up today, so he didn't rush him, just slowly sipped his red wine, admiring the elegant decorations, and sighed with emotion in his heart. After a few years, Julian Jameson, that playboy, has actually developed a taste for the artistic. This fine wine, this scenery, this atmosphere, it just doesn't seem like his style. 1 minute before the wedding started, the phone on the table dinged. Dylan picked it up. It was a message from Julian Jameson. He replied with 2 lines. I personally arranged your seats. I remember it was the table near the stage. Chapter 21, before Dylan Dalton could react, the wedding march began to play right on cue. He looked up at the sound and saw, about 20 meters away, the doors on the stage open. A man in a black suit slowly entered the venue and stood at the center of the stage. Dylan was somewhat nearsighted and couldn't quite see the distant scene clearly. He nudged Harvey Evans's arm. Is that Julian Jameson making his entrance now? Hearing this, the 2 men beside him turned their heads in unison, looking at him with utter shock. Why would he go on stage? It's not his wedding today. Not Julian Jameson's wedding. Then why was he invited? Dylan's face instantly froze. He tentatively asked, the groom isn't him? Of course not. It's the 2nd young master of the Sterling family in Shanghai, Sila Sterling. Dylan Dalton naturally knew the name Sila Sterling. After all, this 2nd young master of the Sterling family was a renowned genius, achieving remarkable success at a young age, the epitome of other people's children that elders often praised. However, the Dalton family was far away in Northwood City and had little interaction with Shanghai, so he had never actually met this prominent figure. Sila Sterling is getting married, and Julian Jameson invited him. Could it be that a Jameson daughter is getting married today? But the Jamesons, don't they only have Felicity as a daughter? Could it be a cousin he doesn't know? Dylan pondered internally, squinting at the blurry white figure in the distance. The bride seems to have made her entrance. Harvey Evans and Xavier Young had both stood up, holding their wine glasses and exclaiming with admiration. I remember when I first saw Fee, she was still a high school student. I can't believe she's getting married now. Time really flies. Tell me about it, such a beautiful girl. If she were marrying someone else, I'd be a bit jealous. But if it's Sila Sterling, then I only have 2 words. Blessings. Dylan's fingers, swirling his wine glass, paused when he heard the name Fee. Fee. Which Fee? Does the Jameson family have another daughter named Fee? He shot up abruptly, grabbed Xavier Young's hand. His eyes fixed. Arabic fat, Arabic yet, Arabic lamb, Arabic meme, Arabic tain, Arabic lamb, Arabic yet, Arabic ha, Arabic meme. The bride is Fee, Julian Jameson's actual sister. Both men, unsure why he was suddenly acting so crazy, hesitated and nodded. Yes, Felicity Jameson. Why else would we be invited for drinks? Today is Felicity Jameson and Sila Sterling's wedding. Dill, didn't you know? Of course, Dylan Dalton didn't know. He had never imagined that he would be attending Felicity Jameson's wedding today. Upon suddenly learning the truth, his mind exploded with a deafening roar. Blood rushed through his veins, surging straight to his head. In an instant, all thoughts of being a curious spectator vanished, replaced by endless panic. He could no longer hear any surrounding sounds. Like a madman, he pushed over his chair and bolted towards the center of the stage. Several security guards, seeing something was amiss, quickly chased after him. By the time he reached the middle and could clearly see the situation on stage, the wedding had just reached the ring exchange. The officiant, holding a microphone, loudly asked if the bride was willing to take the groom as her husband. Dylan's wildly beating heart nearly leaped out of his chest the moment he saw Felicity Jameson raise her hand to put on the ring. He summoned all his strength and screamed hoarsely, "Don't!" In an instant, all eyes in the venue fell on him. There was surprise, amazement, curiosity, disgust. He couldn't see anything but Felicity Jameson slightly turning her head, her calm gaze meeting his. This gaze didn't linger on him for long, just a light sweep. After seeing the security guards who followed closely behind restrained Dylan, Felicity turned back. She took the microphone and, amidst the chorus of blessings from the entire venue, smiled and said, "I do." This phrase, Dylan Dalton heard clearly, remembered profoundly. Unforgettable for the rest of his life. Chapter 22, the minor commotion didn't attract too much attention. After the security guards, as instructed, removed the person disrupting the event, the wedding proceeded in an orderly fashion. The only 4 people whose expressions changed were the 4 former roommates. From backstage, Julian Jameson had clearly seen what happened. When Dylan Dalton rushed up, Julian seemed to sense something, and his face immediately fell. Hearing the ceremony staff say there were still 10 minutes until the best man's speech, he took off his jacket, flexed his wrists, and walked out. Just as he reached the doorway, he collided with the now irrational Dylan, as well as the bewildered Harvey and Xavier. He waved his hand, grabbed Dylan by the collar, his voice ice cold. "Just now, what did you mean by don't? Dylan Dalton, who were you saying that to?" Dylan's eyes were filled with confusion. He stared at Julian for a long time before finally focusing a little, spitting out a few words through gritted teeth. "To Fee, I said it to Fee." The suspicion that had been building in Julian's heart for a long time was confirmed by this sentence. A stiff smile forced its way onto his ashen face, his tone frigid. "What's your status? What right do you have to say that to Fee?" "I'm her boyfriend." The word friend hadn't even left his lips when Julian's fist, filled with fury, smashed into his face. "I FC King asked you to take care of my sister, and this is how you FC King take care of her. 6 years you dated for 6 FC King years, you didn't say a goddamn word. What do you take me for? What do you take Fee for? Young Master Dalton years ago, no matter how I invited you to Shanghai, you wouldn't come. Now, how the FCK do you have the audacity to show your face here?" When it was time for the best man's speech, the officiant called out 3 times before the 3 best men hurriedly took the stage. Felicity looked at her brother standing at the end, his face bruised, and the smile on her own face froze. Perhaps sensing her gaze, Julian, wincing, looked up and gave her a brilliant smile, silently mouthing words. "Happy occasion, smile, be happy." Felicity read his lips and, mimicking him, offered an even brighter smile. During Julian Jameson's speech, his bruised face was magnified on the screen, and even the officiant joked a bit. "This best man, why did you come on stage with such colorful makeup? Are you going to perform something for us?" The guests, initially surprised, burst into laughter at these words. Julian scratched his head, looking embarrassed, and took the microphone. "I took a tumble backstage just now. Sorry for making a fool of myself. I actually prepared a speech, but I lost my notes when I fell, so I'll just speak off the cuff. Please bear with me. Although I'm on stage as a best man, I actually have another hidden identity. I'm the bride's brother. Yes, my name is Julian Jameson, Felicity Jameson's biological brother. I'm 4 years older than her. We've argued from childhood to adulthood. She's gentle with everyone else but loves to sass me, and I often bullied her, frequently making her unhappy. Sometimes, when I went too far, I'd reflect on whether to apologize. But every time I stood before her, that arrogant sense of being an older brother would overpower my guilt, making me unable to say I'm sorry. So, after dragging it out for over a decade, I never said it. Today is the joyous day for my sister and my good friend. They are about to start a happy little family. I am both happy and sad. My emotions are very complex. But since I'm the older brother, I still want to impart some life experience. I want to tell Fee it's okay to fall as long as you get up. The wound will slowly heal and the pain will be diluted by time. I was negligent before and let you suffer. Brother promises you today, in front of everyone, that I will absolutely not repeat past mistakes, nor will I let outsiders bully you again. Can you forgive your brother? By the end, Julian Jameson was sobbing uncontrollably. The audience thought he was just reluctant to part with his sister and smiled kindly. Only Felicity understood the meaning behind his words, understood what he was apologizing for. Her heart ached, and tears welled up in her eyes. Sila's Sterling, beside her, looked at her, silently took the bouquet from her hand, then released his hold, his voice gentle as water. Go! Felicity could no longer hold back. She ran towards her brother's embrace. Brother and sister held each other tightly, their tears mingling as they fell, and merged into one. Chapter 23. After the wedding, Felicity changed into a comfortable outfit and, holding Sila's hand, prepared to head to their new home. It was the first time they held hands so tightly, as husband and wife. Feeling the warmth from his palm, Felicity felt the skin that had been chilled by the air conditioning slowly warming up. The couple avoided the crowd at the front entrance and walked towards the back. Just as they pushed open the door, Felicity's gaze was drawn to Dylan Dalton, a few meters away. It wasn't because she still harbored old feelings, but because his bruised and swollen face was really a bit too conspicuous. Only upon seeing him like this did she finally understand why her brother's shirt had been torn during their fight. Well, she was his little sister, whom he had watched grow up. If he didn't get a bit rough, how could it be enough? Dylan, unaware of her thoughts, rushed towards her Arabic meme, Arabic yet, Arabic lamb, Arabic Khalif, Arabic dal, Arabic yet, but was stopped 5 steps away. He was far from calm, glaring at Sila's Sterling, who blocked his way, his tone full of threat. Sila's Sterling, I'm not looking for you. Sila's nodded lightly, his expression faint. I know. I'm just informing you that my wife does not wish to see you. The word wife deeply provoked Dylan. He grabbed Sila's by the collar, his face contorting with rage. You're asking for death. Sila's glanced at his wrist, a glint of coldness in his eyes. Are you sure? A reminder. If your left hand suffers another heavy blow, it will be completely ruined. You probably won't be able to eat Western food for the rest of your life. Before Dylan could speak, Felicity interrupted him. Sila's, you can wait for me in the car. I'll handle this myself. Sila's really didn't want to leave them alone. But in the end, he respected her decision, brushed Dylan's hand away, and slowly walked to the car, watching from a distance. Felicity waved, a faint smile on her face, reassuring him. When she turned back to face Dylan, her face was as calm as stagnant water, her tone equally cold. You should have seen the breakup letter. I'm married now. Let's not see each other again. If there's anything else you want to say it all today. Dylan's heart, which had just surfaced, was pushed back into the dark depths of the lake by these few words. His face paled, a flicker of panic in his eyes, his tone stubborn. I didn't agree to break up. It doesn't count. Come back to Northwood City with me, okay? I'm already prepared to propose to you. Didn't you promise me before that you would only marry me in this lifetime? Seeing the dazzling ring he hastily produced, Felicity raised her hand, holding it up before him. The entire scar started 10 centimeters from her wrist, extending to the knuckle of her ring finger. The black scab, mixed with dark medicinal residue, looked like a black dragon from an ancient painting, inspiring awe and trepidation. Dylan only glanced at it once before involuntarily lowering his head, no longer having the courage to meet her gaze. After a long silence, he finally managed to say, his voice hoarse, I'm sorry. Felicity didn't need his apology. Because more than half a month had passed, the scabbed wound on her hand no longer hurt, only faintly itchy. She just wanted him to see the ring above the scar. This diamond ring was one she and Sila's had chosen together. She had taken a liking to it at first sight. A 10-carat sapphire, not as dazzling as the one in Dylan's hand, but it was her preferred style. When Sila's bought it, he had said something to her that she still remembered clearly. Actually, from the moment I saw your photo, I had a premonition that I would spend the rest of my life with you. Although this sounds absurd, I want to tell you that what I've decided on will never change, be it matters or people. Please believe me this once. Chapter 24, Felicity had only answered him with 3 words. Me too. She would never turn back on matters she had decided had no room for change. She would definitely give a chance to the person she had decided to spend her life with. And her relationship with Dylan Dalton had been a mistake from the very beginning. It had taken her 8 years to realize she had taken the wrong path. How could she repeat the same mistake? So she lifted her head, met his gaze with unwavering resolve, and told him clearly, unequivocally. Dylan Dalton, the one you liked, was never me, but the faint shadow of Livia Lockwood you saw in me. The reason I proposed breaking up was neither because I was throwing a tantrum nor because I was waiting for you to coax me, but because I no longer love you. If it's deception, it's not worth forgiving. Do you still remember saying that? You deceived me for 6 years. I don't want to forgive you, nor do I want to hate you. I just want to make a clean break with you to sever all ties. Every word, like a sharp blade, sliced Dylan's heart into 1,000 pieces. He couldn't accept this outcome, shaking his head desperately. Felicity didn't look at him. She turned around, towards the person waiting for her in the distance. I have a new family, I'm about to start a new career, my husband is planning our honeymoon trip, my future is wide open. If you still have even a shred of guilt towards me, then leave Shanghai and never appear before me again for the rest of your life. Let us forget each other in the vast sea of people. As her words fell, a smile slowly appeared on her face, and she descended the steps, one by one. She never looked back. On a summer evening, the heat had not yet dissipated. Sila Sterling held Felicity Jameson's hand, strolling along the green asphalt road. The warm breeze lifted the floral skirts of little girls on the street, causing the treetops to ripple with layers of green waves. For the first time, Felicity felt that summer was such a beautiful season. She looked at the streetlights gradually illuminating in the distance, turned her head to glance at Sila's, her tone exceptionally cheerful. How much further? You're not going to tire out your new bride on our very first day of marriage, are you? Sila's chuckled along with her, raised his hand, and pointed to a villa about 10 meters away. Felicity looked up and saw a vibrant, fire-like red. The night was deep, the light was poor, and she couldn't clearly see what it was, so she couldn't help but ask, "What is that?" Sila's didn't tell her, but pulled her into a light jog. As they drew closer and pushed open the gate, Felicity saw a garden full of phoenix flowers, blooming riotously on the branches. Her eyes lit up instantly, and she tilted her head back, gazing at the dense sea of flowers. A gust of wind blew, and light red petals fluttered down. She felt as if she were in a dream. Sila's watched her intently, watched her lift her skirt, watched her twirl, watched her laugh and sing a song he had never heard before. When she had had her fill of fun, he pulled her into his arms and gently picked the petals from her hair, one by one. Felicity looked up and saw her own reflection in his bright, clear eyes. She lifted her finger, waved it in front of his eyes, disturbing his thoughts. "What are you thinking about? Thinking whether to rest tomorrow or take you home to try my mother's cooking? Thinking about what else the house needs, whether you'll have trouble adjusting, thinking?" Listening to his rambling, Felicity felt a little dizzy. She stood on her tiptoes and pinched his cheek. "In such a romantic place, can't we think about something else? Then, can I think about kissing my wife?"